Do we take life too seriously? Is this existence that we choose to live lived too stressfully? Recently, I found out that there is somewhat of a major difference between existing and living. We all technically exist, but none of us truly, or most of us, take the time to live. Living and existing are separate because living is almost the action within existing, the unconscious part of a conscious existence. It's not as if we don't live our lives, but it's almost like we treat our lives as if we are the passengers and life is the pilot. Not to say that real living is conscious effort, but to live is to be unconscious, or more so, have some sort of unanalytical eye upon what is existence. It is in the mind of man that the self exists, but it is in reality where we live. To try without trying is like the Zen act of Wu Wei. It's the epitome of the human consciousness. It's like being able to live life without stressing over like these daily mundane tiny circumstances and allow your self to be in the present moment rather than have your mind be analytical of seconds past. The harder we try at life, the harder life seems. The more we are looking for stressed objects, the more we find stress. Just as the world is subject to perspective, so are we. And our perspective of the world, in turn, affects how we view it. So, in some ways, we must be partially intent on viewing the world in a certain manner so as to not allow certain biases and environmental impacts to cloud our judgment in reference to the world around us. With reference to the not trying aspect of living, how can one try but not try at the same time? Or how can one be conscious of his unconsciousness? And this sort of philosophy is something that needs to take time. It's not necessarily something you can just like adopt in a single day just to kind of get rid of all your stress and worries. It takes somewhat of a mental imprinting to kind of reprogram your mind into viewing the world a certain way. Because in this life that we've lived thus far, we can tell that our environment has had major impacts on how we exist. It's almost as if we haven't truly found ourselves outside of this environment or outside of the traumas and schisms from our past. All we do in reality is action. Action is the part that exists in reality. Thoughts and other things aren't in the real world. They're not physical. They're not manifested into the physical until they're actions. And all we are is the reaction to our external world. So if we're able to change our perspective on this internal world and in turn change our reactions in some minute way, we might be able to change ourselves.
How does Rev Kid get back?
I think that we take life far too serious. It's like take lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. It's the expectation of the self that makes life difficult, not the expectation of the world. It's almost as if because we give ourselves these expectations that we fail. You know, it's once you prescribe success into your own mind that you allow the potential for failure. It's like we are a victim of a joke unknowing of it being a joke itself. We play the game of life so well that we almost forget we're in play. It's as if we are trying really hard in a video game when in reality we should just be playing the game just for fun. And that's not to say you shouldn't stress about or worry about certain things in your life because you want your life to be prosperous. You want things to go your way. You want things to be beneficial to you, and that all makes sense. I do the same thing, but it's as if these sort of self expectations and um, aspiring of worth that kind of strips it. And that is to say that the more we worry about this life we're living, the less life we have to live. It's like they lose the day in expectation of the night, and they lose the night in expectation of the dawn. It's like we're losing a lot of time and losing a lot of ourself in the lack of action caused by the abundance of overthought. Everything is just as it is, and nothing can really change that. So the expectation for things to be different and to have some sort of predetermined prejudice or predetermined preference towards the world is only going to cause your undoing. That's not to say we shouldn't have preferences, but that is to say that some preferences are better off not had than uh, attempted to be materially manifested. It's like we're striving for certain things that are not grounded in ourself, but rather uh, a societal desire almost, or somewhat of a muttering of your ego, like having this kind of selfishness and uh, insecurity causing you to want things to work out a certain way or causing you to view certain situations in a certain manner that's unbefitting of what you want the world to be. And if you accept things as they are and have no preference and accept things truly as they exist, then the only thing that exists is the reality. We need to be more grounded in the facts, or rather, what we've seen, like what we've been able to truly grasp, rather than uh, forging potential possibilities inside our head and acting as if they are truly possible or truly happening now, rather than something that's potential. And in reference to accepting things as they are, how does one go about themselves, one might ask? This I'm not truly sure of, because it's like, do you want to take yourself lightly and deeply of the world, or do you want to take yourself serious and lightly of the world around you? And I think that there's a certain balance you have to achieve with that. Um, you should definitely accept yourself as you are, but realize that just because you're accepting yourself as you are does not mean that you're not subject to change, or that your growth is over, or you shouldn't be aspiring to be a better person every day. It's as if you should take lightly the path, like know that you're going to arrive at your destination or you're not. It's just one way or another, and all this constant worrying isn't going to necessarily change that. You should still take the actions to get to that point, but the unnecessary stress and anxiety that surround these ideals of ours is the unnecessary something.